Hey, what's happening, gamers? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to, I guess, our 5th episode of the Road to Mario Kart World. That's, of course, hyping up the brand new Mario Kart that comes out on June 5th. So next in line for our Mario Kart showcase is going to be Mario Kart Game Boy Advance Super Circuit. Except WARIO is going to be the main spotlight for today. And we're going to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And the Mario Kart Marathon continues until some new games start dropping next week. So Mario Kart will be featured off and on. We don't know how we're going to play Mario Kart 7, aka Mario Kart 3DS. But Double Dash and Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart DS, and probably Mario Kart Wii U, and then Mario Kart Double Deluxe will all be showcased as we go through every stage, except for 150cc's, because Kwings not very good with that. Hello, Linky. Yay!
Let's go!
But yeah, we hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and you're ready for more of the Mario Kart Mayhem goodness. I'm also working on a new Switch 2 video, so if you guys have anything you'd like to see in that video, leave a comment on our actual Big Switch video that went up. That got 17,000 views yesterday, which is amazing.
Yeah, Luke is going to be answering some questions that parents had about the Switch 2.
Yep, we'll be talking about Game Share, some of the Nintendo Enhanced games and what features they have and why the upgrades are doing what they do.
Oh,
and some other fun stuff.
Did you see the statement from Doug Bowser or whatever today?
I have just gotten up, so I haven't seen Bowser's statement.
Yeah, Granddaddy Otaku was telling me about it, so I guess he said something about, like, they made a statement from Nintendo, and basically you were correct, that when they said that price, they were not taking into any tariffs into account. That was the price that they were saying.
Right, because of what they're doing with Vietnam and stuff. Yeah, I know. The problem is...
So now they have to readjust the price again.
Yeah. The problem is, in Japan, the system is $330, like USD. In America, it's going to be $500. Like, they can only raise it $50. So what's going to happen is the system most likely is going to be $500 without the game. With the game, it'll be $550. The thing that Bowser should be trying to do with Nintendo is he should be negotiating with them on a price that is exactly the same as PS5 games. Because the problem with Nintendo doing $80 games is that they're going to set a new precedent. And other companies, monkey see, monkey do, they will follow suit and try to get their games more expensive. That's just how it works. So, you know, the industry standard right now is $69.99 for, like, select PS5 and Xbox Series S games. So Nintendo needs to follow that, you know, same price line. Mm-hmm. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to increase it more, and that is going to increase the industry standard, because next year, Sony will be like, okay, now our games are $80.
We need William Shatner, price line negotiator.
Well, the problem is...
I think this price is a little high for this system right now.
The problem is, like, Doug Bowser is not a... He's not a very good leader. He's a good guy who, you know, filled in Reggie's shoes, but he is a yes man. So whatever Japan tells him to do, unlike Reggie would challenge things that came from the top. Doug doesn't. Doug is a guy he's worked his way through the corporate ladder of many different gaming companies as well as, like, entertainment companies. So he does what the Japanese, you know, bosses tell him to do. You know, there's no negotiation, there's no change, it's whatever it is. So...
Like, yeah, that's not gonna work. Actually, I thought it was an interesting comment on your video where somebody said a reasonable price they felt would be reasonable for the Switch 2. And I was like, oh my gosh, if only. They felt that it should be $338 for the system and $69.99 for the games. And they would be fine with that.
The problem is, which I'm going to be going over either tomorrow or the next day, is the reason why the DS and the 3DS were so inexpensive, mostly, is because the top glass was the same thing that was used for Game Boy Advance SP. So they reused the same type of, like, glass They're not using OLED technology, which I believe is cheaper or something like that. They're using high-end technology to get that 1080p resolution for when it's in hybrid mode.
Oh, they have to use a different type of glass?
The glass and the resolution technology is it's not inexpensive, it's expensive.
You know what I wish? I wish that they would have, I don't know, maybe this is a hot take, but I kind of don't care what it looks like in handheld mode because it's right in front of me. I can easily see it. It's 2 inches from my face, so I don't care if it's HDified or not. Like, I kind of wish they would have made the glass on it, like, cheaper, and then when you put it into the system, then it's, like, more... I wish they made it exactly the same as the Switch when you hold it.
No.
And then when they put in the system, now it's enhanced.
No. Everybody wanted an upgraded, like, Switch that you would be able to play 1080p, like, at least, like, 60 frames per second or 40 frames per second. Because when the Switch is not docked or whatever, you're not even really getting consistent 30 frames per second, usually, when you're playing it handheld. And you're barely ever getting 60 frames per second. For the most part, most games on Nintendo Switch run at 40 to like 50 frames per second. And sometimes some games hit 60. But, you know, the Switch has problems with that. And when it's docked, you get 1080p. But, you know, that's, again, older technology. So the problem with the new Switch is, Switch 2 has brand spanking new technology that's very expensive. And like I told you before, Nintendo is basically giving consumers a choice. Before, Nintendo was a system for the past 20 years that's been a companion system. That means you have a Nintendo system along with a big boy, either Xbox or PS, whatever, PlayStation, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo wants to basically force consumers to choose either them now for the high-end system, because Elden Ring looks amazing on it. The only difference is the new Elden Ring game has a little bit of problems with the way that hair looks, but From Software is going to try to improve the way hair looks on the system. That's the, like, they did a comparison of a PS5 Elden Ring and the Switch 2 Elden Ring, and the only thing that stood out to people who, like, are super Souls people is they saw that the hair quality was a little bit lacking on the Switch 2, but everything else, like the draw distances, the way that the game looked, the detail of the characters' faces, everything else was identical on the Switch 2 that was on PS5.
Yeah.
And these Souls people were going crazy on Twitter. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to be able to play, you know, the newest Souls game in the palm of my hand at 1080p, like 60 frames per second. Like, this is better than my Steam Deck. So, but, you know, they were quick to point out the hair resolution or the hair quality doesn't look very good.
It seems like it would be hard to make hair in general.
Well, I mean, they would have to make it even more expensive. Like, then the system would be like 6 or whatever. You know, the more technology you put into a system, the more expensive it gets.
Vic says, oh boy, hair is weak, lol.
Right. Nobody really cares. And even people said, you're not even going to care about how wavy the hair is when you're playing the game anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yes, you would. For hair is so healthy, we need to give those characters Pantene Pro V to help with their hair. Or, what is that other thing that's supposed to help with your hair? The stuff with dandruff shampoo.
Head and shoulders?
Yeah.
Ah!
For thicker hair.
Aye, vey. Can I rewind? It's 50 cc's.
Yeah, definitely Granddaddy Otaku. Doug Bowser's statement seemed to imply they either don't realize the standard they are creating, or they don't care because they are Nintendo.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's, you guys have to understand, that's how Doug is, though. Doug is a very nice guy, but he is a corporate shark. Like, there's no easy way to say it. I mean, that's what he was hired to do. Like, Reggie Fils-Aimé, it's not that he was too soft, he was too aggressive when it came to, you know, Reggie was a marketing genius as well as he knew what would thrive in the market, and, you know, he was going with Iwata's vision of a companion system, not like, you know, only a Switch in the house. It was Switch plus PS4, it was Wii plus PS3, or Wii plus Xbox, you know?
Yeah.
The idea, even Reggie would talk, he says, when you're playing your Nintendo next to whatever other console, he says,
oh my gosh!
Yeah, he would even say that in his speeches. He says, we're all about innovation. We're about making fun games, fun experiences, blah, blah, blah. That's what he would do. He would use the word fun a lot. You know?
I mean, it is fun,
right.
though.
But a lot of these game developers today, they don't like use the word fun because they don't believe in it anymore.
Well, I also felt like people got a Switch first, and then when they saved up enough money, then they got an Xbox or a PS5. Like, that's how I heard a lot of people talking, like, oh, I don't have enough for a PS5, so I'm gonna get a Switch, and then I'll wait later. Look at this. I don't know if Luke can hear me because he's petting the cat.
Would you like to be petted too?
No, I just want you to hear what I'm saying.
I hear you.
I said, don't you feel that people got a Switch first and then they waited till they could afford a PS5 or something?
Something like that, because Switch was a little bit cheaper, yeah. Yep.
I wonder if the Switch was $500 in Japan, the Switch 2. I wonder if Japanese people would be freaking out.
It wouldn't need to, because the system, the difference is, like, the other systems are being manufactured in Vietnam. And those are for the global units. The in-house, right, the in-house Japanese thing is only gonna be whatever, but they also, you know, said, which the Japanese gamers are mad about, is the Japanese Switch 2 is only going to be Japan only. It is not open to all regions. So
it'll be manufactured somewhere else, not in Vietnam?
No, it's not. It's made in Japan, which is why it's only $330.
Oh, you want to know? I mean, I'm just thinking of a random fact.
But they can't play American games. They can't play Europe games. So when we get our Switch 2, just like with our Switch, we were able to play if we wanted to and spend the extra money.
That makes sense.
We could play other regions. Japan can't.
Two different versions. That reminds me of Kikkoman soy sauce, because did you know that Japanese Kikkoman soy sauce is healthier than if you get the stuff they import to other countries? They put genetically modified stuff in the stuff to other countries, but for themselves it's not genetically modified. I'm not even joking. Like, the stuff they ship out is actually genetically modified, and it's like cheaper. But the stuff they have in Japan is actually like better for you, healthier. But actually, that's not their fault, because they have laws that they can't have GMOs. We don't even have those laws here. Like, we don't care.
I mean, we're working on those laws.
There are no laws to outlaw genetically modified stuff in our food, so they're just like, well, I mean, genetically modified food is cheaper, so they just send it to us. They're like, well, you guys don't seem to care if you're eating trash, so here you go.
I mean, it's gonna probably take 4 years, but Robert Kennedy is trying to do the European method. He's gonna get rid of corn syrup and Red 5 and a couple other things. So basically,
high fructose corn syrup is terrible.
High fructose corn syrup, Red 5, and like a couple other like really bad things that can contribute to cancer and diabetes and other things.
It does.
They're going to remove from our food, but it's a process that I think it started.
It's gonna have to take a long time because many people are manufacturing GMOs and sending it to
I
us.
was reading a report. They said in order for them to remove all that stuff, which was part of their campaign promise or whatever, it would take almost 4 years. Like, you'll see by like 2026, you'll probably see the removal of like the red coloring for like certain soft drinks that makes it a different color. So in Europe, when you go to buy a soda, like a Fanta or whatever, like it's usually one color or whatever the natural color is. They're not able to make it like weird because the food dyes have chemicals in them.
Yeah, and there are some dyes that are very bad for you.
Right. So the dyes will be disappearing because it sounds like they got the ability to do it, but it's going to take years.
As far as I remember from what they taught me in culinary, the GMOs, and also what I learned in even ecology in college, the GMOs started in like the 70s and 80s. They've been around. So that's why in the 80s you didn't feel them as much because there weren't as many GMOs, but every decade there's been more and more GMOs, and even some of my culinary teachers believed that part of the reason why so many people are intolerant to like gluten is because so much of our bread is genetically modified that nobody can digest it anymore.
I would believe that, yeah.
And it's actually not...
Oh, yeah!
They're not really gluten intolerant. They're intolerant to GMOs, really.
Well, I mean, it's not... GMOs aren't real food. It's genetically modified.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's basically...
It's not grown in nature.
Think about, like, a mutant in a comic book. Like, they're splicing together all kinds of things that you don't want to know what's in our food. Because when we were kids in the 80s, like, the food was natural, like, for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, even cereal, like, I've learned that certain types of cereal have all kinds of, like, bad dyes and all kinds of stuff they did to try to make it, you know, more preservative and stuff like that, so it lasts longer.
That's what people joke about. They're like, well, from the 1800s up until about 1960-something, they're like, we didn't call it non-GMO, we just called it food. Because there was no such thing. Like,
for instance, most cereal nowadays has a full shelf life of about a year. Cereal in the 80s that you would buy in the box only had a shelf life of like 2 to 3 months. It wasn't like a year thing. So I mean, obviously they're putting...
It was real food
Right,
back then.
they're putting something in the wheat and other things to prolong its life so that, you know, they can lower the price.
They also, in my culinary class, they also told us that not only do they modify it, but they also go into, like, say you have, say they put bread on the shelf. They found out that vitamin E, which is an essential vitamin that every person needs for their skin and, like, also, like, their organs. They found that vitamin E actually, which is found in bread when you bake it, it actually, like, makes the bread go bad faster. So they actually took and removed the vitamins from the bread and took the vitamins out. So when you're eating the bread in stores that have natural vitamins in them, they've actually gone in and purposely took all your vitamins out of that.
Yeah. Look at the V8 juice that I drink. Like, 10 years ago, the reason why I got that juice is because it was filled with vitamins and minerals. Like, it had vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. And then, like, as the years went on, if you go and you buy V8 Fusion now, it only has, like, I think vitamin C and vitamin D.
Yeah, they keep taking a new vitamin out every 4 months or so.
No, every couple years they take more stuff out of the drink.
Every vitamin you take out makes the shelf life last longer. But then what you're eating is you're left with nothing. You're eating empty calories that have nothing that you need to live. Like, your organs can't work without vitamins and all
so
this
stuff. It was basically a cheat drink for me for years, and I felt like I was a lot healthier back then because I had more vitamins and minerals in the stuff that I was eating and drinking. And even today, like, I'm noticing, like, there was 3 vitamins and minerals in my drinks like just 2 years ago, and now there's only 2.
You know,
that's insane.
I mean, that's why they say, I mean, it's funny because I've been watching a lot of videos and they say
WARIO.
It's very hard for Americans actually to become healthy, and it's not our fault.
No.
Because we are craving the vitamins and minerals we need, so we keep eating for that because we're craving the nutrients we need, but there's no nutrients left in our food that's on the shelf. The food has the nutrients taken from it. So, you know, you would have to eat so much more to actually get the nutrients you need. Which is, like, messed up. Like, they're literally, you know, how they're doing it, it's not real food. It's completely zapped of nutrients.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, I'm sorry, Granddaddy Otaku. I can go over to that video and we can write a comment or something, or I can also try to get rid of some of the... some of you guys were mentioning in the chat how people were mean in the comments, like in replies. I can try to go through and kind of like get rid of the really rude replies, especially, or also try to respond to some of you guys and say thanks so much for the comment. You know, like, what you're saying makes sense and I appreciate you, because it is stressful to have crazy people responding to you. Like,
well, what you guys are witnessing is that's how YouTube really is. You guys are the best community on YouTube. So when people who aren't a part of this community and haven't gotten to know you guys, they leave comments like that, that is YouTube. It's mean. Volatile, mean. You know, we had
ignorant.
We basically had like this big group of good for, you know, 10 years, like thousands of people leaving positive comments and constructive criticism, and it was a place where people would be able to speak out openly and, you know, agree and disagree. We were like a utopia of like YouTube, like entertainment. And then when we got shadow banned, there's less comments, there's less engagement. But you can see, because of all the engagement that happened on that video, it got almost 20,000 views. It's got, like, last I checked, it has like 560 comments. It's got 1,000 likes. You know, that's how videos work on YouTube.
We had somebody had a problem that happened to them last time when you made a video about something on Night 101 about Batman, and I forgot what it was. I think it was just a simple thing about the Switch or the price or something about Arkham coming to the... I don't know.
The last video I made about news stuff would have been a Batman video talking about stuff. It
wasn't anything controversial. One of our subscribers, I think Josh or something, he said, "Oh yeah, I agree with some of what a lot of what you're saying, and thanks for the video." He got so many mean comments responding to him, to the point where he was like, "I don't know what to do. People keep writing horrible things to me. What should I do?" He's like, "I don't want to take my comment down." But it was hard. It's really messed up. Like, people are really jerks, like, online. I can't even explain.
Oh, there's nothing I could do.
I can't even explain, like, how mean some people are.
The only thing I could do is let Bowser pass me so he gets hit by the blue shell.
Yeah, people are crazy online.
Where's Bowser? Okay, where's the blue shell? Aha! There it is!
Oh
yeah! I win! That was funny. Oh, but yeah, I mean that's the joy of those type of videos, though.
Anime phase. You can't harass people if you disagree with them. It's not called pushback. That's called harassment. It's called being rude. You can't. Okay, look at this person says you have the right not to buy a console, but it's fine. It feels like you're complaining when your points get pushed back, because it's like you're telling you that's how it is and peace, goodbye. That doesn't make any sense, Anime Phase, because you can't harass somebody and be rude to them. Like, then respond in your own comment. Don't respond to somebody else's comment and try to harass them. Other people are allowed to say their opinion too. When you harass somebody else about their opinion on someone's video, you're literally making them, like, uncomfortable to even be able to have a safe space to say their opinion. You're literally harassing them to the point where it's extremely rude and wrong. That's not allowed. You can't do that. So, your version of... that's not what pushback is. That's called bullying.
Yeah, that's basically bullying. Yeah.
It's not pushback.
So, have you noticed that most of these, like, Game Boy Advance levels are just remakes of the Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo? It's just they've kind of added, like, a almost N64 element to it, but they kept that Super Nintendo vibe for the most part. Because the courses aren't too crazy. They kind of mirror that classic, like, early 90s aesthetic for Mario Kart, with the almost N64-like looking character model things. I don't believe they would call this sprites, though, because sprites were a completely different thing. But I'm not seeing, like, a lot of, like, 3 shells. Oh, never mind. There's 3 shells. They managed to pull it off. Holy cow. Never mind. I stand corrected. Oh, that's a problem. No! Okay, I gotta do it again. Uh-oh. Trying to go with the old music there. Bam! Fire! Oh, ho, ho, ho. There he goes. I'm gonna win.
Yeah, because if you really had a problem, you said, Anime Phase, that you felt that Luke was upset because of pushback because of what he said, but you didn't say anything to him. What you're saying is you're gonna go harass somebody's viewers and try to, literally harass people in the comments section to the point where you're going to make a whole toxic environment. And those people didn't make a video. They're just commenting their opinion on the system because Luke asked them to leave a comment and just say their thoughts. And then you're going to harass them for having their thoughts. That's not pushback because they didn't make a video. So if you had any guts at all, or if you had any kind of, you know, if you were brave enough to, like, supposedly push back against the, you know, all-powerful content creator, then you'd write your own comment. You wouldn't harass somebody else in the comments. That's called bullying.
What pushback, though? I didn't push anything. I just talked about the news. I didn't really interject my own opinion at all.
I know, and that's hilarious. Also, because you obviously didn't even watch the video.
I don't think you comprehended the video very good. Because, like, it was mostly constructive criticism and telling people, hey, this is what it is. This is what I think is going on. I never said, really, you know, I'm not going to buy this thing, or...
He never said, like, everyone needs to buy this, and... Because Anime Phase just said in the comments, just said, like, oh... You can't force people to buy a system. Luke never forced anyone to buy it. In fact, he said the opposite. You obviously never watched the video. He actually said that there was a problem with the price.
I mean, just like...
I don't think that you even watched the video, to be completely honest.
I don't think they understood the video. Like, I don't repeat points in my video. I just go over point by point. Like, most content creators, they have to repeat stuff because of the TikTok audience. I only say it once, and then I continue on with stuff.
All we were explaining is that, you know, people need to stop being disrespectful to each other. You know, when you're leaving a comment.
When I was doing the video, I told people what it was like in the 90s. I told people why I think the prices were adjusted the way they were. Talked about Vietnam. Talked about... I didn't even get into a lot of stuff of why the system is as expensive as it is. That's the follow-up video. Talking about different parts and things that they're using. Talking about game share. The only thing that I really said opinion-wise was I think it's a bad idea for them to re-release games at a exorbitant price. Oh, crap. And, you know, that kind of stuff. Because I do agree with my statement there. I don't think that's the right thing to do that. Wait, is this saying I'm going the wrong way, or am I going the right way? Okay, I'm going the right way. This is confusing. The way that they have this zone is very confusing. Sometimes, like, the Super Mario Kart thing doesn't work very well.
The person.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, he doesn't even come to the stream.
I know. No, I took care of it.
I mean, look at the South of Midnight situation. Like, on my Twitter, I told people I'm not covering this game because the lady who makes it or works on it is racist. But I even tell people, I say, hey, you know, I'm not telling you guys to boycott it. I'm just telling you why I'm not supporting it. So, you know, if people decide based on what I said and they want to boycott it too, that's, you know, more power to them. But I never force people. If people are still excited about that game, go for it. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm just telling people based on my principles. I can't support somebody who calls white people, you know, white adjacent and says that all white people are evil and gamers are evil. I can't give a lady like that my money. I have principles. I have convictions. I can't do that. You know, but I never told people on my Twitter, hey, because of this lady, you know, you'd be an idiot to buy this game. I never said that. I said, you know, I'm not telling you guys not to buy this, but I'm not getting it. So I'm going to cover something else.
Yeah, like, I've never heard Luke tell people what they're allowed to buy and what they're not allowed to buy. Like, I've never heard Luke shame anyone or tell them, like, oh, in most videos where Luke says his opinion about a game, he usually says, it's up to you what you want to do, but I'm just saying my opinion. Like, I've never heard of...
I don't think I've ever said the word opinion. Like, you have to remember, I'm an old school journalist, so, like, I just present the facts. I, you know, tell people, hey, this is what I think about this, blah, 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 blah. This is what you get with the game. This is what the game does. I give it a score, blah, blah, blah. And then I move on, you know? today's journalists, they have to spin things constantly, and they have to add emotion into everything. And I'm more like how they do news in South Korea, where they present the facts, they talk for a little bit, and then they're done. Whereas, you know, the news in other places, like in America, it's like a 24-hour event where they're constantly going over the same thing. They have a panel of people discussing point A, point B, point C. I present the points in a constructive way, talk about it for like 15 minutes, and then move on, and then the next video is on something completely different.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were just responding to the thumbnail.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, I purposely made the thumbnail that way. Because you have to. Like, they say an honest salesman starves. So with YouTube, you have to do clickbait. You have to do edgy titles. Now, my videos are anything but clickbait and edgy. They're very, like, you know, very tame. Very different than most people. I clicked on most people's videos and they say, Switch 2 sucks because of this. And then, like, 10 seconds later, but they're like, but that's what the internet says. So, I mean, you know, right now, as soon as they talk, they have that hook, or they've got that, like, you know, orange man on the thumbnail with, like, fire all around him holding the Switch 2 and with devil horns and stuff. So, I mean, everybody does clickbait. It's like, I wish I was better at clickbait. I thought about putting Reggie on there with dollar signs, but I like Reggie too much to do that to him. Because Reggie was, like, one of my heroes at Nintendo. In fact, I even put, I go off topic and I talk about Reggie Fils-Aimé in the video. Because I was like, man, I have some clips of Reggie. I'm going to go back and re-edit this video and talk about Reggie for a few minutes and tell people how Reggie used to do things. As well as, you know, I did plug something else in that video. I told people to buy Reggie's book.
Yeah.
Because Reggie released a book about his time in the game industry, and it's phenomenal. So, I did secretly, you know, like, kind of add something into that video where I talk about Reggie Fils-Aimé for, like, I think, like, 2 or 3 minutes. Or no, 2 minutes. And I talked about Iwata a little bit as well. I did talk a little bit about Iwata.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You did talk about his book, says Vic.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, somebody said, like, I like that about gamers is they can disagree and then they can choose to buy what they want, and let me read. Everyone has their own interests in what they want to buy for games. It's their decision. It's all about having fun regardless. That's why I love gaming, says Lady Luna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, not everyone's gonna have the same standards. Like, some people are willing to pay a lot more for a system than other people. Some people, that's really important to them. Other people are gonna wait until its price drops.
Yeah, the only thing that I think was critical about that I did interject my own opinion was I told people that the price of the expansions or the enhanced edition games and the price of the games like Donkey Kong and Mario Kart is not right. I explained, you know, how the prices worked, and, you know, I think that's how I got into my whole, like, little mini rant about what Iwata and Reggie did for Nintendo and how Nintendo is completely different. But I didn't get too much into the Nintendo stuff, and the next topic video is mostly discussing why the Switch 2 is so expensive, talking about the screen, talking about the features, talking about game share, talking about all that stuff. So if anything, people are going to say, whoa, your first video was very critical, and now this video you're explaining what people get if they buy a Switch 2.
Because it's a different video.
Because it's a different video. It's another topic video on whole other stuff that people in the comments actually asked about. People were asking about game share. I was reading the comments. I was like, okay, so my next video, we'll talk about game share, what it does. I went to the Nintendo thing in Japan, and I Google translated the page as best I could where they were talking about, the developers were actually talking about game share. So, like, it took me all night to read that. I also read about, like, the enhanced games and other things, and I did see a list of some of the games that are not compatible, because there's currently about 150 Switch games that will not work on Switch 2.
Oh, wow.
That needs to be a discussion point as well, because consumers need to know that. It's not like you're going from Wii to Wii U and all the Wii games play on the Wii U. Like, not every single Switch game is actually going to work on the Switch 2, which is probably why they have Switch Enhanced games, or Switch 2 Enhanced. is because I don't think the original Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom will run on Switch 2, which is why they probably made enhanced versions, same with Kirby. So they're being sneaky about it. But also, if you think about it, they're also being nice to the consumer too, because, hey, you own this game, but it doesn't work anymore, so we're making a enhanced version of it. Things like that. But, yeah, we're going to go over not so much game prices. We're going to talk about hardware. We're going to talk about some of the specs of the system. We're going to talk about game share. I'm almost done writing my script now, but I'm trying to look up a few other things that I want to talk about that a lot of people are, especially about the key card things, which I don't like those key card thingies, but I want to present people with as much info about it as possible. And it's not likely, the thing I was happy about is I worked on that video from 2 in the morning until about 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember. And I barely got any sleep.
Wow.
And I was thinking, dear God, please let this get 1,000 views, because I need something for my work. Because as a shadow ban channel, you never know what's going to happen. It's like playing the stock market. Like, everything goes up and down, you don't know people are going to see your content. It's maddening. So I felt like so good inside that the video got above 5,000 views. It was like my work actually paid off for the first time in like a year. So I'm hoping with my Switch 2 video, my second one, my follow-up video, that'll at least get like 5,000 views or something. Because you never know what's going to happen. It all depends how quickly people see the video as a shadow ban channel, if it's going to even make it in the search engine. And even as a shadow ban channel, it only was in the search engine for 24 hours. It's not in the search engine anymore. It's not being watched anymore. It's done.
Sorry.
That's okay. I mean, you almost got 20,000 views. You'll probably get 20,000 views by the end of the week. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's DOA now. I checked the data of the video. It's not in the search engine anymore. It's not circulating anywhere.
Yep.
And the 100 people that subscribe, they're going to be expecting content similar to that. So that's where the problem lies. That's the problem with, like, what do they call it? Scripted content is, if you have a video that does really well, there's a lot of pressure to make a video that'll be similar to that. But the topic isn't as, you know, spicy as the previous video.
Yeah. I mean, you can't make every topic, like...
Well, I don't like... If I wanted to make money, like, honestly, and be divisive and stuff, I would make a video on the racist lady of South of Midnight. Like, that would be an easy, you know, click-generated video, but also it's going to bring a lot of animosity to the channel. It's going to have people that agree with your stance about that. You know, most people with common sense would agree with my stance, but it's also going to bring people that are in support of the lady for saying those racist things. So then you're going to have, like, all kinds of people that have dissenting opinions, like, conflicting, and then it's going to ruin our little utopia we have over here. Like, our little safe bubble, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to, yeah, bring people with...
Right, and then your channel is going to start to change its identity from a fun place where everybody of different political opinions and, you know, like, game interests come to kind of hang out.
It's like, depends who you call out. If you call out a certain group of people that aren't acting right, then those people are going to end up coming to your channel, basically.
Yeah, and the only reason, like, there were some people, activists said back in the day that Amber and I changed. It's like, the only reason that we perceived to change to them is because their worldview changed. If you go back and you watch us from the very beginning, our stances on everything from politics to how to treat people, our religious beliefs, all that stuff was the same. The world changed around us to a very radicalized version of itself, and Amber and I stuck out like, you know, a big orange sign in the middle of a desert because everybody around us, the tumbleweeds, all went crazy. And our neutral, common sense point of view then stood out in the world like a big neon sign when we never changed at all.
Well, we never had to change. Like, a lot of people have to change because of college or their job influences them to change their opinion about life, whereas we always worked with each other and put content online, so we never had to compromise our beliefs to live in the world.
Yeah.
We always work for ourselves, so what we believed 20 years ago is the same thing. So we never had to change it.
Oh,
but yeah, It's like, yeah, Pup Jojo said, my thing is state your opinion but respect others' opinions at the same time. On this channel, I'm very filtered out of respect for Luke and Amber. If there's any other channel, there would be no filters, says Joseph West. We respect and appreciate you too, Joseph West.
Well, the thing is, people have to remember too, my boss, like when I was a game journalist, they always told us like 3 important points. Never bring up politics in your work, ever. Don't bring up religious stuff, and be objective. So when we were doing the game news, like 2004 through like 2014, most publications adhered to that philosophy. And it was only Kotaku and a couple other people that started to break from that mold because they saw that it got them attention. So they started to interject more of their political beliefs, more of their social beliefs, all this other stuff into their work. And then activists came into our industry and they latched on to, you know, that emotional change. And, you know, they easily got an in our industry. Like, because of people like Kotaku and IGN and all these other people changing how, you know, business was done.
I mean, a lot of my opinions about things and life and stuff and, like, the world and politics and stuff is just, I don't have an opinion on a lot of it. Like,
well,
people,
it doesn't relate to our work.
People act like, oh, you have this opinion and I don't, you know, you're not agreeing with my opinion on this. It's like, well, I don't really have an opinion. I'm actually indifferent. I don't have a stance on a lot of these. Like, that's how I learned to react even when I was in school, where a lot of people would be arguing at the lunch table, and I would just learn to not have an opinion. Like, I don't, unless it's pertaining to something I need to, like, if I'm going into politics, then I would form an opinion about it or something.
Well, in the 90s...
But for me, there's no reason. If it doesn't have to do with my job, I don't need to take a stance on everything.
In the 90s, what it was is there's a time and a place for everything. So basically, like you said, like based on, you know, the stuff that's going on in the field that you're in, you would talk about certain things. Even like the private sector jobs I had when I worked like in an office and at a cubicle, or I was like, you know, at work at EB Games, things like that. Nobody brought up the stuff that was happening during the War on Terror, like at work.
Right.
Nobody brought up
nobody
whatever.
talked about it.
What was happening
Whereas
in the
today,
Senate
people
or whatever.
always talk about politics
Yeah,
wherever they are.
It's like basically it becomes like another point of just like how people used to talk about their favorite TV shows and video games and comic books and books or whatever. They would bleed into their regular social conversations, like at work. They go right into politics and religion now, and those always cause problems.
Because when we were younger, the news wasn't on 24 hours.
Nope.
And Luke and I don't even, like, the only time I'm looking at the news is, like, the headlines on, like, you know, Google or something, like, oh, there's a plane that went down, okay. Or, okay, there's a war going on in this country. But I'm not really interested in, you know, like, every single horrible thing that happens on the news. I don't, it's not that I don't care, I'm not a paramedic, I'm not a police officer, I don't work for the FBI, it's not pertaining to my life. I don't have any influence over these events. I can't help the events. I'm not responsible for stopping these events that are happening, so my job is just to put my head down and do my work. So I don't understand why people are so obsessed with the news when it doesn't affect them really directly. It's just on a TV miles away from them.
So the only reason that I ended up bringing up certain things like activists attacking us and things like that is because they brought the war to us. Amber and I were neutral for years, and then people suddenly started canceling us on social media, and then they started to DDoS, dox us, they swatted us, and it was like, at that point, it was like, all right, they brought the war to us, so we're going to hit hard. You know, we got the police involved, we did all kinds of stuff.
I mean, a lot of the weird stuff that's written about us online is like, oh, Amber made fun of this character model's face. I bet if somebody in real life looked like that, they would be really mean to them. But in reality, I mean, I know tons of people in my church and stuff that are disabled that have disfigurements, and I'm not mean to them. I only was doing that because the character model was drawn badly. So they're assuming that because I was making fun of a character model in a game that I'm mean, but I would never do that to somebody in real life.
I mean, most of these people have
They're
mental
assuming
illness
that.
too. Like they're mentally disturbed because they have this idea that based on how you treat a fictional character is how you're going to treat a real person.
Yeah,
That means that person is mentally ill.
Which is crazy because
Right.
it's a pixel on a screen. You wouldn't treat a real person like that.
No, of course, it's not real.
That's
it's like,
the whole reason I was making fun of it, because they don't have feelings, because it's a drawn character.
the reason why a lot of these tourists can't, deal with gamers is because gamers have the ability to separate fiction from reality. And a lot of these people who are not gamers, they don't understand gaming, so they also don't understand why the outlet for games is very important for gamers and why they need certain things is because they don't have these urges to recreate some of the things that they do in real life. Because of places like certain games, like men live out their fantasies in the games. They don't actually go and, do anything like dangerous with real women or, rob banks and do all this other stuff as much as they do it in the games.
Well, like Grand Theft Auto or something.
Right.
Like, I'm sure that prevents
the
a
outlet.
lot of...
The outlet is important for them, and what the activists keep doing is they keep trying to take away like sexy characters, they keep trying to take away certain types of violence, and they only spout their same opinion. They remove the other opinion from the equation completely, and then sometimes, or actually mostly, they villainize the other opinion, or they villainize the person who has no opinion, the person who's neutral. So, I mean, of these things created the clash between activists and gamers. Gamers just wanted to be left alone. The activists brought the war to our doorstep, so most normal people eventually are going to speak out against it.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel like a lot of the activists, what they did, they were like, you haven't spoken out against this horrible thing. Like, there's a character model in this game, and the character is too attractive, and it's probably going to cause women to kill themselves. And you don't care about women killing themselves because of this character model. You haven't said anything, therefore you hate women. I can't believe I'm going to write horrible things about you online, how you hate women. When you're just standing there, you haven't said anything for or against. You are completely neutral, and they've already villainized you because you exist. You haven't even said an opinion yet, and now they're harassing you and DDoSing you, and you haven't even said one way or the other. You don't even get a chance to say anything. They're already attacking you. They're already assuming your opinion because you haven't said anything quick enough for them. That's how crazy they are.
Right. But that's why also they lost the culture war. Like, the remnants of this, like, the South of Midnight situation. There are very few games today that are being made like, some of those activist-driven games. Like South of Midnight and, like, I think there's 3 or 4 other big games coming out this year that have that same mentality. We're going to act the way we did in 2020, and people need to deal with it, and, we're actually really bad people, but, we're going to say whatever we want anyway. And we don't care if it impacts the sales of our game. Like, I don't even think this lady actually cares that she said that kind of stuff. If anything, when people don't buy her game, she's going to play victim. She's going to say, oh, you don't like this game because this game represents, like, the South and, like, Louisiana culture. And it's like, no, the reason why people didn't support this game is because you said horrible things about Asian people. It's like, has nothing to do with you personally. It does have to do with you personally. You were the Rachel Zegler of this situation. You opened your mouth when you didn't need to.
Yeah,
you should have
just... a lot of people were planning on playing the game now that they don't know what to do now because she told a lot of people that were planning on playing the game that she hates them.
Yeah.
So that's very disturbing to me because, I was looking forward to playing the game too, and I'm very torn because I really, I don't know what to do because it's hard. It's hard because it's hard to play a game. Like, when someone openly says they hate you, how are you supposed to play the game when they literally told you to your face they hate you?
What the problem with activists being in our industry is they believe that there is a fantasy modern audience that is bigger than the main gaming audience. And the main gaming audience dwarfs by, like, an entire galaxy over a universe or whatever, a tiny planet. Basically, activists are like a small little moon, and the gamers are the biggest sun in that area, and everything revolves around the gamers, basically, right?
Yeah.
They're a little moon that's causing all these problems and, messing with these other planets and stuff like that. and they think that they can somehow cause the gamers to, you know, like either phase out or whatever. And it doesn't work that way because the gamers are the majority. You always have to make games for the majority. You never make games for the minority.
They're going to a fantasy audience that doesn't exist versus a real audience that does exist. It kind of reminds me of the problem they had in Korea with, this is kind of a far stretch, but women that basically would break up with their boyfriends or husbands because they were watching so many K-dramas, and the men in the K-dramas would fill an entire room full of roses and all this. And they'd be like, they would look at their actual guys and they'd be like, you're not doing this for me. And then they would break up. They'd be like, I know there's someone better for me out there. I know there's somebody better for me out there that's going to fill the whole room with roses. But that person doesn't exist. That's what they're doing. They're getting rid of their actual audience for a fantasy audience that doesn't exist. That's how I feel. It's the same situation where in their mind there's another group of people that will appreciate them better, but that group of people doesn't exist.
Is this supposed to be shaking?
There is nobody that is going to listen to them scream and rant and say whatever they want and then they'll buy their game. Nobody will do that. There is nobody.
No, just like look what happened with Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed had all this stuff happen to it, and like they thought that they would get all the gamers, like tens of millions of gamers would buy it, and all we know from Ubisoft is that there's 3 million players in the game, but they still haven't released how much the sales were because the company is basically going bankrupt. But they're still championing it like it's a success when it wasn't. You know, it's like, if this modern audience existed, then they would have bought, like, you know, so many copies of the game. And same thing with Concord and all this other stuff. Like, when you go and you say all these horrible things about the gamers, which are your customers are the gamers, they're not going to support you. And then you don't have a big enough, like, group to come in and, you know, fill that gap. It's like, the old saying goes, like, basically, when you're removing your fans, you're creating a gap. You're creating almost like a black hole. You need something to fill that black hole, or you're going to continue as a business to be sucked through it, because you need to find a way of closing it. And when you're, you know, alienating more and more people and they're leaving, you're creating a vacuum effect that you are not bringing in enough people to fill that. And that creates a huge problem. So then what happens is that hole ends up enveloping the game developer and they go out of business. It happens 85% of the time. You know? So I don't understand how these activists, they can't realize the common sense involved with, they're basically destroying their own businesses. And then they blame gamers for not supporting them when they alienated the gamers in the first place. It's a stupid thing to witness over and over and over and over and over again. Because it's like they never learn.
It's hard to deal with. I think I kind of blame the education system in America about it, because the American education system, I just think that they've, like, rewrote history so much to the point where they think, like, people going through college now in the United States, they think that everybody in the 1800s life was miserable and that nothing was good and that modern society is the only thing that's good, and that they'll just keep making everything more and more modern and it'll keep making everything more and more good. They'll keep changing. Like, for instance, like, they think, oh, well, you know, back in the day, women wore corsets because men forced them to. And, you know, it was horrific because they were fainting all the time and it was so evil. But that's actually not the truth. If you actually go look back, that's actually a lie. The corsets were actually there to help women's, it actually helped with their rib structure and all this stuff. Like, I'm not saying super thin corsets, but I'm saying there was a lot of, like, things that they did. It actually helped them. Like, it helped them to, like, sit up straight and stuff. Like, a lot of women wore corsets on their own. Like, they didn't have men tell them. But what I'm saying is, like, they just, like, basically, in today's modern age, I think that they think that if they can get men not to be attracted to female attractive characters, then in 100 years, men will not want a woman with a tiny waist and curves. Like, they can change reality, but they don't understand that men and women are always the same throughout every century. men that want to grow up and get married and have a family, they will be attracted to a female character with a tiny waist with curves. Now, and in 3,000 years they will. It will be the same. It will never change. It will always be the same. They think that it will change, but it will never change. Life will always be the same. They don't understand that life doesn't change like that.
To some extent.
They don't understand that it doesn't change.
I responded to, there was this weird thing on Twitter, I think it was like last month, where this lady was basically saying that all gentlemen are like people that take advantage like deep down, and they subject their wives to like servitude and stuff, and they said men have been evil for centuries. And I said, hold up. I said, if you go back to the Renaissance era and even the 1800s, men as gentlemen was something that was basically expected in society. Men had to make sure that they walked on the side of the road where like carriages and cars were coming, and the women were on the other side. They would give women their handkerchief. They did no PDA out in public. Everything was like private, and also they were like heavily scrutinized if they did not get married and they just like, had a sleepover with the lady. Like, you had, as society, you had to get married. You had to take responsibility. You had to have a job. You also needed to ask the father's hand in marriage in the 1800s. You couldn't just elope. That would be seen as something very taboo. The Puritans, like in Plymouth, Massachusetts, were very strict when it came to courtships. You would be engaged for 6 years before you would be allowed to be married, and you would have to have a pastor and other people check to make sure there was still purity. Like, you had to go through all these things, and if they deemed that you weren't ready, like, you would either have to be engaged or they would annul your engagement. Because, marriage was a society thing where it was important. It was also like, like a thing that was very like religious in a sense too, because, of successful marriage blessed you with children and all kinds of stuff. It wasn't people going around like the Wild West and, going to brothels and stuff like that. Women were very proper, and gentlemen were very like, I guess you'd say kind and polite and stuff like that. So this idea that they're painting like almost like this barbarian mindset, it's like, I think they're confusing like most normal men with Vikings, because Vikings did raid villages and steal women and, force certain things and do, but that was just one culture, and that was like essentially a type of barbarians. Or nomads.
There were civilized people and there were uncivilized people.
Exactly, yeah.
There was Mad Max world places like the Vikings or the Mongols, and then there was civilized society.
Yep.
So you would be thankful if you lived in a civilized society, because as a woman, you'd be protected in some way. I mean, no offense, but like, look at all the women that get taken advantage of at parties and, going out drinking now. If we were in the 1800s, those women probably wouldn't been assaulted. They would have never been assaulted, because they would have had lots of protection to make sure they weren't. Mm-hmm. But in today's society, women are assaulted all the time. So really, in some ways, we go backwards.
Yep. But if you don't teach proper history, I mean, then people are gonna repeat the same mistakes.
And that's what I even heard one speaker talking about this years ago, and was saying like, people were saying, oh, women aren't kept safe in modern society and stuff. And they're like, actually, throughout all of history, men have fought wars to protect women and children. Men have always put themselves on the line for all of history, for like thousands of years. Mm-hmm. And because women were the most important thing to protect. And part of the reason why women weren't allowed to do things like, go from town to town on their own without being accompanied by, a man and stuff, is so they were not assaulted. A lot of these things that people say were taking away women's rights, it wasn't really their right. It was trying to make a rule that women wouldn't be there without safety. You'd have to go with an older brother or your father or your husband.
In ancient times, or centuries ago, they had a very big role, like, which society deems inappropriate now, but they raised children, they took care of the home, they took care of the finances. The man went out and worked, sometimes very hard labor. The man would die very young, usually, from overwork and stuff like that. It was very common for a man in the 1800s to die at the age of 45 and 50 years old and the woman would live to be like at least like in her 60s or 70s to see grandkids.
Yeah,
you know,
but they are rewriting so much history and lying and saying that women have been oppressed for many years when that's not absolutely. If you actually went back then, you would know that women didn't actually feel oppressed. That was just the way, that was the structure of their society.
mm-hmm.
It was like, it was made more sense for a woman to be at home because she'd be protected. I stay at home a lot. I feel protected. I don't go out late at night. So if I lived in the 1800s and I worked at home, I would feel protected. I wouldn't feel oppressed. I would feel that someone is taking care of me. So it just depends on the way you look at it. They're writing the history books inaccurately to scare people, to try to make people think that somehow they're progressing so far, when in reality they could be progressing backwards.
I mean, I would actually argue if somebody from the 1800s came here and saw what our society is like, they would think we're all degenerates. Like, they would think that, you know, we have, like, so much, like, degradation, and we're immoral, and, you know, we treat, like, each other horribly, you know, we mess up children's upbringing, you know. They would think that basically we're all satanic.
They would probably think we're barbarians.
They would think, oh my gosh, what do we need to do to go back in time and prevent this future? What?
Exactly.
How do we warn future generations of this horrible future? You know? They would see, like, corn everywhere. They would everything, like everything that their normal way of life would be completely disrupted. They would not just be like that, you know, like changing Amish show where they would just accept everything. They would be horrified, you know. So, like, if anything, our society has changed, and not for the better, really. Not really. There's less people having babies. There's, like, the population is declining all over the world. You know that Korea is in big trouble? Mm-hmm. Like, they're saying by 2060, if Korea doesn't change where it's going right now, because of, like, third wave feminism and stuff like that, people aren't having babies as much. And, like, if they don't get their act together by the year 2060, there will only be, like, 13 million Koreans in South Korea. And the problem is, North Korea, they're being forced to have children. So North Korea is basically just going to take over Korea just from, you know, doing nothing.
Thank you, Miss Deanna, for the super chat. It says, in the Wild West, women had a lot of rights, and they started business and built schools. And thanks to brothels, all thanks to sometimes brothels and prostitutes. Thank you, women. Yep, thank you, Miss Deanna. Yeah, I mean, like, they work for their money, obviously.
The oldest profession.
But, I mean, even, like, you know, even when you look online, there's other things that are, like, inaccurate. Like, I watch a YouTube channel that... Thank you, Granddaddy Otaku says, in 1800s, a woman would call us devils, and we would call her a Karen. Yeah, probably. That's probably true. Well, I mean, but even that, I mean, there's a lot of ignorance about things, like, you know, like, there's a TikTok or a YouTube channel with this girl, like, does a channel, and she lives somewhere in Africa, and then she has to answer questions. They're like, do you have buildings there? Do you have a mail there? And she just takes a picture of, you know, all the houses there where she is in Africa, and all of the buildings, and the mail, you know, the post office and everything. And people are very ignorant in this world, like, about a lot of things. I didn't even realize they had pizza in a lot of countries.
Oh my god!
I'm just saying, like, it's just... people are very in it. They think that people, you know, they just think that people in different ages or in different places in the world, you know, they just think that everything is about them. Like, modern people in America think everything is about them. Like, nothing was happening good. Nothing was normal until they came along, until the activists came along.
Whoa, what is happening?
But, you know, there was societal structure there has been societal structure in the world for thousands of years. People were not, you know, like, how did we get to where we are today then? You know, how did society survive this long? How did people survive? How did humanity survive this long? if it was so terrible for so many years. We wouldn't have made it. Nobody would be existing. Obviously, you know, there were...
We have to push the short.
Yeah, so it's just like these activists have learned such inaccurate information about history that it's making them crazy. Like, they think that the year 2020 is the only 3000 BC didn't exist. No other year exists. Only 2020.
Yep. All right, guys, we got to push the shorts now. The last hour didn't do well because we didn't push the shorts. So we're at like 1190. If you guys could watch the shorts, that'd be a big help. Like I said, the big video we did yesterday is dead. It's got like 10 people watching it, so I mean it's no longer in the search engine. So that means we're back to... I didn't push the shorts yesterday because I mean, literally we were like at 5,000 views an hour, like most of the day. So you notice I didn't really push the shorts at all. But we're back to, you know, our shadow banning routine again. So we need you guys to watch the shorts in order to keep the Mario Kart stream going, or we got to get Xenoblade going. So if you guys could have the shorts run in the background, it's back to business as usual. Going to continue doing the Special Cup as long as things are going well. Are you sleeping on my controller, Link? I need that.
It's possible.
I need that. You little rat. What? How? I need my controller. How am I supposed to play? Ah! Okay, he was sleeping on my controller. Okay, what were we doing? Right, we're at, whoa. Oh, this is just the opening. No. Yeah, we gotta go back to single player. And we need to do, this. Because 50 cc's is today. 100 cc's is tomorrow. So today is all about Wario.
Did the millennials ever find out what the fox says Granddaddy Otaku?
Nope. Nope.
Thank you for the super chat, Granddaddy Otaku.
Yep, thank you for the super chat, guys and gals. Remember to watch the shorts. Easy to have the shorts run in the background. We gotta get those numbers up, okay? Alright, let's continue the Special Cup. This is gonna consist of Lakeside Park, Broken Pier, Bowser Castle 4, and Rainbow Road. And just so you know, guys, 50 cc's is pretty easy. That's why I'm playing as Wario. Won't be playing as Wario tomorrow because that'll be 100 cc's. We'll mix up the characters and stuff like that. I may tackle 150 cc's, but I don't think so.
And thank you again, Justo, for the
gifted membership.
Thank you, Justo. You're breathtaking.
I'm actually surprised how well this looks for something that's 20 plus years old. Whoop. And of course, the next Mario Kart game on DS actually looks like the N64 Mario Kart, but it's bigger. It's got more tracks and more stuff. And we'll be playing that on the Wii U.
Yep.
And I'm still wrestling with the original 3DS capture card, the brick as we used to call it, because it's very painful to hold that thing. What was great about the new 3DS, it was very comfortable. Even the 3DS XL or whatever it was called, I think, yeah, it was more comfortable. It had a rounded edge. The original 3DS, what I hated about the original 3DS is it was this box pattern that, like, it was after, like, long gaming sessions, your hands would, like, end up, like, in this claw-like position. And when we were video capturing 3DS games when it first came out, it was a very painful experience, like incredibly painful, to cover 3DS games like that. And before that, what we used to do in the old days is we actually used to, we used to have the 3DS like duct taped onto a, what do you call it? Like a, it was duct taped on something. A makeshift stand that we made, like with wood. And then you would put the camera lens right up against the 3DS, and you would have it like, you would look at the 3DS through the open lens of the camera in order to video capture it before we had the capture card. That's how we did 3DS reviews. It was a pain in the neck. But people asked us, how did you get the quality so good? It's like, it was painful literally because you have the camera right up against the 3DS. It's duct taped in place. The whole system is duct taped in place, so it doesn't move. And your hands are stretched out so far in a black room, like complete pitch blackness. And like my arms, after like recording like 2 hours of footage, I would be in immense agony. It was such a horrible situation. That's why when people made the modified 3DS capture cards, Loopy or whatever his name was, it was a godsend, because even though you had to play the really, like, you know, square 3DS, the capture card was fantastic. And then when the Japanese company made the 3DS capture card, the new 3DS, it was so comfortable.
Alright, you had a question from Cosmic Galaxy.
Go for it.
Cosmic says, I was gifted a membership from, Justo Kenobi, but I want to upgrade for my ultimate, so I can do my ultimate.
You can upgrade at any time.
Yeah, that's fine. If you upgrade from the gifted membership to your ultimate, that's fine.
Yeah.
Cosmic, of course.
YouTube should give you the option to upgrade whenever you want.
Yeah, that still counts.
Yeah.
That still counts because, yep.
That's an interesting question, though. I've never had that question before. Yeah, YouTube won't say no to your money. Because remember, they get a percentage.
As long as it says ultimate for that month, you're good, Cosmic.
Yeah, the only way you can't upgrade as an ultimate again is if you're already an ultimate. YouTube won't let you, because they don't let us have more than 5 tiers.
That's kind of you, because I think he was just trying to be, just fair, because, so he would do the ultimate tier, but Justo paid for 5 of it. But that's fine. I'm sure Justo doesn't mind contributing to that.
No, he
appreciates
doesn't.
that.
But yeah,
Justo is happy to do that.
No, as long as you're a lower tier, YouTube will allow you to upgrade to a higher tier. Like, if more of the $5 people upgraded to 10, we'd be in amazing shape. Because that'd be like getting like more members in a way. And for the first time in a while, I mean, it's going to start to go down, but our channel ended the month of March, I believe, at 400 members, which is insane. It's wonderful. We haven't had 400 members in probably 3 years. Ooh, I like what they did with this level. WARIO, I'm gonna win. Oh, ho, ho. Ah, Link, you're making my eyes water so much, buddy. So what do you guys think of the Link short this morning? Link was just kind of hanging out. He was upside down because I was getting ready. I wanted to do the parental controls for Switch 2 because I think it's a really funny video with Bowser and Bowser Jr. hanging out with the Switch 2 and Bowser's doing all these parental controls from his phone and things like that. So I was working on that, but Link was just too adorable last night that I was like, you know what, Linky? You're gonna be the short today. Because he was lying upside down on me and he was like climbing weird with his paws on the couch. And it was too adorable to pass up. I just had to film it. Alright, how are we doing? Are we improving? Are we not improving? Alright, good job, guys and gals. Nice job. Keep watching the shorts, everybody. You're doing fantastic. Way to go, community. You enjoyed the short, Joseph? Awesome. Sorry you have to deal with that. Thank you, Superman.
Okay. I don't even know what they're talking about.
Unaddressed trauma? What does that mean?
No clue, Luke. And that's why I don't ask questions. I just do my job.
Oh.
That's what I do. I just do my job. I just do my job.
I think every YouTuber has trauma, though. YouTube's a very cutthroat industry to work for. There was someone asking a question before. They're like, why don't you just not buy the Switch 2? It's like, if we want to sabotage our business, yes, we'll not buy the Switch 2.
Well, actually, Luke and I had a disagreement today. I'm not going to say what it was about. But I'm not going to say what it was about personally, but, like, for instance, somebody said, you know, you don't have to buy the Switch 2 because you're just allowing, you know, Nintendo to be greedy.
Greedy corporations.
So, you know, I feel that we do have to buy it because people expect us to cover Switch games. Also, they're no more greedy than anyone else, I feel. They're no more greedy than Xbox and PlayStation. But anyways, I was just thinking that was kind of interesting because there was a game I really wanted to cover that has, you know, made by activists or whatever, or activists promoting it. And I really wanted to cover it regardless. I didn't care. And Luke said, you can't let people bully you, like, you know, then you're sending them that message. And then I said, well, I was bullied in school, and I did sit in the dirt because Tiffany told me I had to sit there, and I was scared of her. And I do want to play it because I don't want anyone to be mean to me later. And Luke said, you can't do that. So, I mean, even Luke and I disagree on stuff, but I respect my husband, so I'm not going to, you know, play it, but I understand what he's saying. You can't be bullied by people your whole life, whereas I don't mind. I'm like Doug Bowser. I'll play whatever people tell me to play. I'm fine with it. I just want to keep my head down, do my job. But, you know, Luke knows that once you give a mouse a cookie, once you give them 1 inch, they're just gonna keep treating you like trash. Even worse next time. So, I mean, like, it's hard. It's definitely hard because, of course, I just want to do it.
Here's how it works in the real world. When you do something bad, like, and it's something, like, really adherent, what she did. Like, abhorrent. Really, really bad. Most people would be like, because they don't want to impact their company, they'd be like, what I did was uncalled for, and, you know, I was very blah, 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 I've had bad experience with game or something. But the fact that she still hasn't printed a retraction after, like, 6 months, and she's still spouting the same type of, like, rhetoric, it means that person is never going to change. And, you know, you have two choices. Either you just accept that, and you're like, well, you know, I really want to play this game, but at the same time, if you, like, bold that person, they're going to continue to do that kind of stuff all the time. And as well as, you know, it sucks that there are decent people that worked on the game, but the fact that they haven't done anything to reprimand the person. Like, back in the day, if you did something stupid, you represented the company you worked for and the company dealt with you. The companies are too, like, scared to actually do their jobs and to keep their employees in line. As an employee, you have no rights. You have no ability to, you know, say something that is going to impact your company's business. Mm-hmm. You know, you should be fired immediately.
Or they should make you print a retraction.
Exactly. You should have to print an apology and all this other stuff. Because, like, yes, you're allowed to have your personal opinion, but your personal opinion reflects how people view the company you work for. That's why, for the longest time, before social media was a thing, you know, companies always said, remember, what you do outside of this company represents us. Like, you are a representative of our company, whether you like it or not. You work for us. And that's why people didn't do a lot of crazy stuff in the 90s and the 2000s, is because they realized, hey, there was a type of accountability and responsibility. People don't have that anymore because they think because of social media, they have, like, this invisible armor that they can say and do whatever they want.
Yeah, like, I love it how people are like, I'm the CEO of this company, or I'm the, you know, community manager of this gaming company. My opinions are my own. It's right. The fact that you associated the name of the company you work with on your Twitter, your opinions no longer can be your own at this point.
They're now the opinions of the company.
Like, yep. What do you mean your opinions are your own? You just associated your name with the company you work for.
Exactly.
Like that. What sense does that make?
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Of course, yeah. Well, I'm better now, but Luke used to have to. If I had opinions, Luke used to have to be like, Amber's opinions don't represent the opinions of Kwings.
Well, the problem with Amber's opinions that I've noticed over the years is, like, I say something once, Amber, like, has to continue her point until it's done. So basically, Amber will basically take. The opinion is a nail. Amber is a hammer that will continue to hammer the nail over and over again until the nail is unrecognizable. It's just like this kind of, like, bent out of shape, poor, like, destroyed nail that, you know, just only needed to be hit once to get the point across. But Amber is the type of person that when she gets into debates or whatever, she has to continually prove her point over and over and over and over and over again. It's basically like beating the dead horse argument.
I mean, that's true.
Right.
I can't
Whereas
argue with you.
When I say something, I come down like a hammer that's hard, like Thor's hammer. I say it once, it resonates, I mean what I say, and then it's done. You know, but Amber's like, the hammer's in place, and now I need to really beat it to death to make sure that it, you know, people understand what I'm saying. And it's like, people are smart enough to understand what you said the first time.
That's true.
Controversy comes from repeating the same thing over and over again.
And I'm getting better with that, though.
You are getting better with that. How do you upgrade? You would go to your memberships and there would be an upgrade option.
You just hit the join button.
Yeah.
And you just hit the join button again. And then instead of becoming a member, you just hit join and then it'll say what tier do you want to join. Even though you're already a member, it will have you join again, basically. So if you want to do a higher tier, you just hit join and join again. Cause like a lot of people like that. I mean, we had a person that in one day I saw them upgrade like 5 times. So you are able to keep upgrading it, you know, multiple times a day if you want to. Like if you're at regular hero.
There we go! I managed to do all 50 CCs as WARIO. That's crazy. But I mean, it was 50 CCs, so I mean, it wasn't all that crazy. I got first place on most races at 50 CCs on Super Mario Kart. It's when I played it on 100 CCs. But I got bodied playing the N64 Mario Kart. I feel embarrassed for the Mario Kart 64 showcases that we did because I don't feel I did very well. Also, I was starting to lose my temper and stuff, but I think this game gets way harder. Because what they did 20 years ago is they give you a false sense of security. They're like, you did a great job on 50 CCs. Now comes the real game. So, yeah. Do you guys have any courses you would like to see in particular? Like for the free mode or whatever it's called? The racing mode? Look, they even give you the end credits after 50 CCs. Congratulations!
See, but I still, like, if it was my own gaming channel, I'd probably just kowtow to people. Even if they said they hate me, I would probably be like, I'm gonna play it anyway because people are expecting me to play this. I don't know. Because, like, I work with people that hate me all the time. Like, the postman doesn't like me very much and writes me letters.
They don't say it to your face.
Yeah.
And
they don't write it.
The only thing this is how sensitive you are. The only thing the postman says is, "Hey, you haven't checked
clean out your box?
You haven't checked your mail in 3 months." They
didn't say they hated me. They didn't say they hated me.
No.
I just felt stressed out.
Right. They're annoyed because they can't do their job because the box is full.
But this person actually said, I hate these and these group of people, and they're like evil, and I don't like
and
them.
they believe that they're superior, and you know, they don't have to issue an apology. Like, and then when their game fails, they're gonna cry to Twitter and they're gonna say, why didn't the gamer support my game? Is it because the protagonist is this race? Blah blah blah. It's because you're a jerk. Like, the sad thing with these people is, which breaks my heart, is they interpret that people are rejecting their game based on the fact that they made a minority character. That's not why your game is rejected.
It's usually a statement they made.
It's a statement that an activist made that outright attacked the consumers that were going to buy the product. No idiot is going to be like, hey, this person is abusing me, I'm going to go give them money. The only people who do that are actual saps and weak humans that have no backbone, no principles, no convictions.
Are you talking about me?
I think so, yeah. Like, I have principles. Like, you know, I adhere to them. Like, I was talking, this one guy was defending this lady on Twitter, and he told me that I need to get with the times, and I saw on his Twitter it said he's a martial artist. I was like, hey, so-and-so, how many times did you get hit in the head to get that black belt? Because that take was really dumb. You're basically defending a lady who's like a racist, you know? It's like, how in the world can you be okay with this kind of stuff? It's like, this makes absolutely no sense. This is like a dumb stance. It really is, you know? And I have no idea what the guy responded with, but I think my response was fire.
It sounds like a comeback from the 90s or something.
Well, it is a comeback from the 90s. It's like he says he's a martial artist, but you realize as a martial artist, you have to have principles, you have to have discipline, you have to have integrity. You know, you can't be an idiot and do martial arts. It's a whole lifestyle change, basically. Martial artist is a very honorable person. That person's not honorable. That person's a sap. That person's a simp. That person's like a wuss. He's a wimp.
Okay.
He has...
You said you only say your fun. You said your point once, though.
Well, I'm just using other words to describe it. It's not like...
Okay.
I'm insulting him with different things. He needs to man up.
You're having fun being...
Yeah.
Verbal punch... Yeah.
Verbal punching bag, yeah.
Link is like, I'm glad I'm a part of this conversation.
Link's sleeping. He's fallen.
Link has fallen asleep.
He's fallen asleep, and what I find really weird about Link is, out of all the cats I've ever had, I've never seen a cat sleep upside down. You know what it reminds me of? Michael Keaton in the Batman movie where he's swinging upside down. Like, Link will literally sleep upside down, and he's totally comfortable. And you look at him, and you think, oh my gosh, the cat's in pain because he's like halfway off the couch. But if you look at him, he seems like he's really happy. But then what always happens is he gets a little nightmare and he falls right off the couch. Like every single time.
Should be Toad next. I don't hate you, Marion. Says Marion. Thank you, Marion.
Your phone doesn't show the join button after I entered C perks. I don't know, Cosmic. You might have to do it on PC, buddy, if you have it, or a mobile.
Well, if it doesn't work, Cosmic, and it's really not working, and you're not able to get it to work, but I think other people have gotten a gifted and upgraded, but I'm not sure if anyone has, but I thought I heard some people have. But you could always become an ultimate on Patreon for a month. Right, Luke?
I called my wife AI. I mean, Amber and I have different personalities. I tease my wife. I'm always going to tease my wife.
Well, I admitted to Luke, I had a bully in school, and her name was Tiffany, and she was 3 times the size of me. And she just picked on me, and she told me, like, I think it was 1st grade or kindergarten, I had to sit in a pile of, like, dirt and, like wood chips, and I had to sit there the whole recess. I could never play or have any fun. I was scared to death of her. She actually did assault me before, like pick me up and all kinds of stuff. It was terrifying. So I sat there in the pile of wood chips, and I was terrified of her. And then my friend Bonique, who's 2 times the size of me, not as tall as Tiffany. I was one of the smallest kids in my school. I was like the 2nd to smallest kid in my entire school, in my entire town, almost, for my age. And my friend Bonique came by, and she saw me sitting in the pile of wood chips, and she said, why are you sitting there? Because I had made friends with her in class, and I said, Tiffany told me I had to sit here. I said, I always have to sit here because she told me, and my friend Bonique put her hand out, and she said, come on. She said, let's go swing on the swing set. And I said, well, what about Tiffany? She said, you don't have to do what she told you to do. You can come play with me. And me and Bonique were best friends for years after that. She was like my best friend for years, and all she did was help me out of a bad situation. But basically, my point is that I am the kind of person that sits down and gets bullied. I'm afraid of bullies. Luke's not.
No,
he's not afraid of bullies.
I'll tell you a story.
He would not have reacted that way if somebody had told him.
I had a bully take my lunch money in 2nd grade, and not only that, like, he stole my lunch money because he pantsed me. The next day, he was like over at the playground. We got into a tussle. I pulled his shirt over his face, and I punched him repeatedly in his stomach. And I got in trouble for it, but then I told the people at the school that he stole my money the previous day. Mm-hmm. That's how we dealt with things in New York. So, you know, the bully never messed with me again. But I had a very quick approach to deal with bullies. And, you know, in high school, when I was older, I had to basically cool it a little bit because, as I told you guys, I was older than most of the kids in my class. By the time I was 18 years old, I was a junior, right? So I started high school at 16, and I ended high school at like 19 almost, like right around there. So I had to be very careful about stuff. But like up until I was 18, like people did not mess with me because if somebody threw a punch at me, I threw one back. And because I knew martial arts, I kicked their butt, right? So, but mostly what I had to do when I got older is when I was 18, like right after my 18th birthday, somebody tried to mess with me. Like, I had to dodge more or block. I couldn't really distribute that much force back at them. So, like, I would have to do things like incorporate jujitsu, which, like, one guy threw a punch at me in the lunchroom, and I flipped him. You know, I got detention because I flipped him onto the table, so he, you know, he cried like a little punk. And I got detention for 2 days, and the dudes, because I was 18, the dude's parents almost pressed charges on me. But
Yeah.
I did not hit him. He threw a punch at me, and I flipped him. So there's a difference, because the only damage that I really inflicted was using his own body mass against him. Which is actually pretty clever if you think about it, but still, technically, I got in a fight.
Yeah, you didn't actually punch him. He went in for a punch and you flipped him over.
And the one kid who was messing with me, there was like this little short king, which you guys would call him a short king. He was a jerk. He was messing with me my senior year, and I couldn't punch him, but his face was right next to the locker. I hit his locker as hard as I could, right next to his face, and I left a dent. And he, like, you know, I can't tell you what he did, but he basically cowered on the floor and ran away. But, like, you know, because I was going to hit him with that force.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. So the next thing I did is I hit the locker and my knuckles were bloody. But, like, you know.
That's pretty cool, Luke.
People weren't going to mess with me. I wasn't going to let people mess with me because, you know, my school life was already insane because of that girl. That girl ruined my chances of getting a girlfriend in high school, and people had this, you know, nasty reputation about me, and, you know. Some days, especially when I'd worked twice that day and came to school or whatever, I was not in the mood for stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, Matt Howard says, I have a question for you, K-Wing. Honey, Matt has a question for you. Sure, Matt, what is the question?
How weak were the lockers? They weren't very strong metal. It was pretty easy to dent a locker.
Oh, wow. Andrew says, I had surgery, bone graft for my lip, and then people kicked me and threw things at me at school.
Ouch. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
They said people like me couldn't swing, and they kicked me. It's horrible, Andrew. I'm so sorry.
For things like that,
So evil.
I would highly recommend people take a self-defense class. Because, like, you live in probably a more dangerous world than the 90s now. So if there's any, like, you know, kids and high school kids, not only do you learn discipline in martial arts, but also you learn how to defend yourself from, like, you know, possibly very dangerous things now. Like, look what happened to that sports meet kid. You know, another kid brought a knife to a fist fight. You have to know how to defend yourself. You can't just be all up to chance that, you know, things are just gonna... basically, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just gonna smooth over. People are very run by, like, angry emotions more so than they were, like, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, but now, like, when they do stuff that's wrong, like, that's illegal, like now they're being, like, you know, like, there's surveillance cameras all over the place. So, like, people think that they can do whatever they want and, you know, like, do stuff to people, you know, cause harm to people they don't like, but there's surveillance cameras everywhere. Like, well, maybe not everywhere, but some places there are. Now it's like crashing down on people a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
but that's what I would recommend for teenagers, men and women both, to take self-defense at least a year, 6 months to a year, you know. And I think women should carry pepper spray, like, personally, or a brick in their purse. That's what I would recommend. You know, and this is just a guy who grew up in New York and stuff telling you this stuff, but, like, a lot of schools and other things, even in states that were very peaceful, are becoming very violent. So you gotta protect yourself.
Matt's question is, I was wondering if you could play classic games with me on Nintendo Switch sometime, K-Wing.
Unfortunately, our Nintendo Switch will block anybody trying to play with us.
I think we have tried to do maybe we have done classic games with people, like online for community streams or something a long time ago, but we have security now for our internet.
Yeah.
And it blocks everything. We can't even play even for Ultimate members that have paid for a game and paid for a stream, we can't even play with them online for the Switch.
Yep. And also, like, I know that Abdallah and other people, like, charge people to play with them. We don't have any type of, like, camo or Patreon service where we play games with people, nor do we have the time to do that. I know a couple YouTubers that all they do is they play with their subscribers and they charge, like, 20 bucks, like, for 30 minutes or something like that. But the problem is their YouTube channels are in complete disarray because they're constantly playing with their subscribers. I think it's a great service, but based on how much... You have to remember, we stream almost 10 hours a day, if not more. There's really no time to do that because the peak play time of playing with people is between, like, probably noon and, like, 4 or 5 o'clock. And those are our streaming time. And even though I would love to play with people... Outside of, like, when new releases come out and we're doing, like, community stuff, there's really no other way for us to do that.
We usually do community streams if it's, like, a new game. Like, if we had the ability to play with people, like, and we didn't have a problem with our security, you know, who knows? We may have even played with people online today, like, while we're, you know, have to recover it.
We're really hoping that because 24 people can play online against each other in the new Mario Kart, we're really hoping that Nintendo fix their security and that it will work with our internet security equipment so that we can play Nintendo Switch 2 online games with our viewers again. Because I would love to do, like, once a week massive Mario Kart World streams over the next 6 months playing with, like, 24, 40 subscribers in, like, this massive open world racing thing. You know, they have a whole mode to do that, as well as they have a battle mode. They have all this stuff where... You know, for the first time ever, 24 racers can compete against each other. That would be huge because that gets rid of all the arguing that people had with, like, how you could only have, like, 8 racers or 12 racers or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool thing.
Marianne wants to ask you, so you were throwing hands, so you were pretty much like Ken in Street Fighter in school then, says Marianne.
Well, I had to defend myself, Marianne. Like, I had, you know, people... Because I came from New York and I was in Chicago, like, people always had something to prove. Even when I was just, like, reading my comic books or playing my Game Boy, like, and minding my own business, people tried to throw hands with me all the time. And so, you know, some days I would just dodge their punches. Other days I would get creative, like use my jacket to, like, you know, toss somebody. Or I used a lot of jiu-jitsu because, like I said, I was older. And technically I couldn't leave a bruise on somebody's face after I was, you know, when I was 17, I left a shiner on somebody's face so they wouldn't mess with me. But once I turned 18, I knew that, you know, I could be arrested. So I had to be very careful about stuff. So jiu-jitsu came in handy tremendously. And jiu-jitsu, if done right and somebody is off balance, you can really hurt them. And, you know, if somebody threw a punch at you in the hallway where there's, like, tile floor, you know, falling on tile floor and being unable to stop, you know, with the force of your own body, that causes a lot of pain, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, people would think twice about messing with you. And also, technically, you never touched them. You know, you just redirected their punch. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you had a lot of fun. Yeah, I challenge you guys, if you're a teenager and you're having problems at school, take self-defense. It will give you good self-esteem, good self-discipline. It'll teach you principles. It'll teach you conviction. And it will help you be an honorable person. As well as, you know, if stuff gets dangerous, you have a way to protect yourself. And, you know, that's going to be very important nowadays. So... That's just my advice. You can take it or leave it. But anyway, guys, Xenoblade is next. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for watching the YouTube shorts. You guys are amazing. Mario Kart Super Circuit will continue tomorrow with 100 CCs. And we're going to, you know, see who's going to be next. This was an entire Wario showcase. It was a lot of fun. And Xenoblade is next. And then later tonight will be a community stream sponsored by Dozen R for Marvel Rivals. All right, guys. See you in the next one.
See ya.